You will remember that I remarked the other day, just before we went into the very simple problem presented by Miss Mary Sutherland, that for strange effects and extraordinary combinations, we must go to life itself, which is always far more daring than any effort of the imagination. A proposition which I took the liberty of doubting. You did, Doctor. But nonetheless, you must come round to my view, for otherwise I shall keep on piling fact upon fact on you until your reason breaks down under them and acknowledges me to be right. Now, Mr. Jabez Wilson here has been good enough to call upon me this morning and to begin a narrative which promises to be one of the most singular, which I have listened to for some time. You have heard me remark that the strangest and most unique things are very often connected not with the larger, but with the smaller crimes. And occasionally, indeed, where there is room for doubt whether any positive crime has been committed. As far as I have heard, it is impossible for me to say whether the present case is an instance of crime or not. But the course of events is certainly among the most singular that I have ever listened to. Perhaps, Mr. Wilson, you would have the great kindness to recommence your narrative. I ask you not merely because my friend Dr. Watson has not heard the opening part, but also because the peculiar nature of this story makes me anxious to have every possible detail from your lips. As a rule, when I have heard some slight indication of the course of events, I am able to guide myself by the thousands of other similar cases which occur to my memory. In the present instance, I am forced to admit that the facts are, to the best of my belief, unique. That is from the Red-Headed League, one of the early adventures of Sherlock Holmes. This is actually the second of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It was published in the Strand magazine, August 1891. This is a very interesting case and a very popular one. The Red-Headed League has been anthologized many, many times, and it is one of the most popular Sherlock Holmes stories. It was, in fact, one of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's favorite Sherlock Holmes stories. And I can kind of see that because it does have a very unique problem that is presented to you in this story. So, Mr. Jabez Wilson, who is a pawnbroker, who's in some financial trouble. His business, it's not doing so well. So he's a pawnbroker who's struggling a bit. And he also has bright red hair, which is important for this story. So there is this thing apparently called the Red-Headed League that was founded by an old rich red-headed guy who wanted to further the cause and help out other red-headed gentlemen. Jabez Wilson hears about this from his assistant. His assistant asked Jabez Wilson, hey, why don't you answer this ad that's in the paper here? The Red-Headed League has an opening, and for just some easy work, you'll get a really good wage if you go to work for the Red-Headed League. And so our guy Jabez says, hey, easy work? Well, I'm not doing so well financially. I'll do it. So he goes down to the place where the Red-Headed League is, and there's a whole line of red-headed men all in a line there to get into the Red-Headed League, trying out for this job of easy work with good pay. But Jabez Wilson, he's the one that gets the job. So he goes in there and he meets a guy named Ross. And this guy is another red-headed guy, and he runs the league apparently. And he's very impressed with Jabez's red hair. And Jabez gets the job over everybody else because his hair, I guess, is the most red. So he gets this job and he's like, okay, what is this job? The job apparently is to come to the Red-Headed League's quarters, or this office building, every day, sit down and copy by hand the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's his job. There's no explanation for this job about why this is the thing that the Red-Headed League wants Jabez to do. But Jabez is like, okay, I can do that. So he goes during certain hours during the day, sits down at the table, copies out the Encyclopedia Britannica, and he does this day after day. And one day, he goes to the office, and there is a notice up that says that the Red-Headed League is dissolved without any explanation. And so Jabez just has to go back to his normal life with no real explanation of why they wanted him to do this and where they went after they were gone. And he's annoyed because this was an easy gig. So that is the setup. And so Jabez comes and he talks to Sherlock Holmes and just says, can you explain this to me? What this whole deal is with the Red-Headed League? And Sherlock Holmes, being the smart guy that he is, can see just what we see right away, that this is some kind of scam. But we're left wondering, what is the motive for this scam? What's the purpose of it? What's the point behind the whole thing? And that is the mystery that Sherlock Holmes has to solve. I will spoil one thing for you. It does involve a crime. Now here's one of the... I think I hear the Hound of the Baskervilles over there causing some trouble at the window. There she goes. Hold on. I feel like we keep having this conversation. I need you to stop making so much noise while I'm trying to make videos. Can you be quiet? Can you be quiet, little one? For the rest of this video, it's not going to be very long. This is a short story. Yeah? Can you do it? Okay. We'll see. I'm not confident. So, anyway, where was I? Yeah, this does involve some kind of crime. But the mystery... So, it does involve some kind of crime, but the mystery is, what is the crime? Here's one of the cool things about Sherlock Holmes stories. His mysteries are not just a murder of the week or a murder of the month. They're more varied than that. There are actually only a few actual murders in Sherlock Holmes. They happen, of course. It's a mystery series. But that isn't the thing that is most often pops up in the series. There are all kinds of strange and different mysteries that pop up, a bunch of different situations, a lot of unique stuff. And the Red-Headed League, I think, is as popular as it is because it's got such a weird setup and a pretty clever mystery that's behind that setup. Of course, I can't tell you what it is because that would spoil the mystery, and I do want you to read these stories. But there is a pretty clever mystery behind this. And Sherlock Holmes, unlike in last week's story, where he was not at his best, the woman pretty much defeated him in last month's story in the scandal in Bohemia. In this story, he does show himself to good effect. He is the master detective. In this story, he solves the mystery in splendid fashion. We get to see Sherlock Holmes at his best. So that is fun. It's just a fun little mystery, a fun little adventure of Sherlock Holmes. Because you know, Sherlock Holmes mysteries are not just mysteries, they are adventures, which is one of the reasons they're so much darn fun. So, The Red-Headed League is a darn good story, and I advise you to read it. And I will see you next week. What's next week's story? I'm going to skip ahead because I can't remember. Let me just see. Okay, sign up for A Case of Identity. A Case of Identity is next week's story. And I will see you then for A Case of Identity. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you next time.